My name is Faraz Shafiq, and I'm the worldwide head of product management for cloud migrations and modernizations at Amazon Web Services. We'll also be joined by Laurent Rodewald, who's the Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer for Cambia Health Solutions. Cambia is an innovative regional health care with a mission to disrupt healthcare in the US. And Laurent's going to talk about how transformation through the cloud journey is helping them achieve the goals. In fact, it's not just healthcare that's benefiting from the power of the cloud. We see this across all the different industries. And Amazon has a very unique vantage point in the fact that we've migrated thousands of customers at a large scale and many more at a smaller scale. And we see customers across every imaginable industry, all different shapes and sizes, across all geos and segments, move their key workloads to Amazon and start to see some significant benefits. And it really depends on the key drivers for each of the customers. And there are many different drivers, and we're going to talk about that. But the best part is that the migration process is not complicated. Through the course of migration, we've learned a lot, and we've packaged those guidance and learnings in a simple, easy approach and process. So today I'm actually quite excited to be sharing many of those learnings so that you can help understand the key business drivers for your migrations and modernization and achieve the business outcomes. Let's look at a few customer examples and a few use cases on how customers typically have benefited from Amazon. So one great example that comes to mind is Dow Jones. So Dow Jones is a global news and business content company. They serve millions of customers every day through brands like Wall Street Journal. So for Dow Jones, it was all about making sure that their subscribers get the more important financial news at the right time with the right approach. And so for them, they very quickly realized that they're not in the business of managing IT infrastructure data center. So by shutting down their Hong Kong data center and moving their key workloads over to AWS, not only did they realize 25% in cost savings, but they were able to increase their product development velocity by 30%, yielding really strong results and helping them move and play around with different subscription models. Coca-Cola, a globally established household brand name that serves hundreds of millions of customers every day. For them, it was all about global scope, scale, and making sure that they can get the benefit of real-time analytics so that they can optimize their global supply chain. Coca-Cola set an ambitious goal of moving nearly 600 workloads in just over an year to AWS. And by doing that, they were able to cut their insights processing time from 36 hours to 10 seconds. Live Nation is another great example. Live Nation is one of the world's largest live media and entertainment company, operating in 40 countries. And they sell close to 500 million tickets annually. So for them, it was all making sure that they can benefit from their elastic needs as well as delivering the information and insights that their customer want across the globe. So Live Nation and their CEO set their goal that they wanted to move faster than what is comfortable. By moving critical workloads, which included almost 700 servers over to AWS, Live Nation almost cut down their cost and IT infrastructure by half while improving their efficiency gain nearly 50%. Finally, Expedia, a global travel company, understood that in this time and age where travel is super important and very dynamic, is really key in making sure that they're innovative and they're doing really fast data analysis and insights so that they can optimize the right mix and offer the right products to their end customers. So Expedia, by working with AWS and migrating their key workloads, were able to increase their innovation pipeline 5x while improving their data and insights analysis nearly 360x. They're really, really powerful results and outcomes. And we see that across many industries that customers have different use cases and depending on what their needs is and what the situation is. Now, a lot of customers that we talk to start off with cost savings and efficiency as their core business driver. And we get that. That's usually a fan favorite. And cloud promises to bring really strong cost savings. We followed up with a lot of customers. We've built a lot of different models. And through our unique vantage point of migrating thousands of customers and having million plus customers, we understand the different types of cost benefits and efficiency gains that customers actually get. And what we've uncovered is nearly 25 to 50% in total cost of ownership savings when you move on to AWS. So cost is absolutely a huge driver. But then there's other elements like different types of compelling events. So you may have a merger or acquisition type scenario, you might have a divestiture, you may have a new market launch or a new product launch. You may want to scale your product globally in minutes. And so all of these features and all of these capabilities get unlocked really quickly through the power of cloud. A lot of customers then start to benefit from additional services around innovation. Things like Internet of Things, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and a lot of digital technologies are really, really easy and simple when it comes to deploying on the cloud. You can spin up clusters and new services in minutes and experiment with the latest and greatest tools that will always be available to you on a click of a button. And then there's all these different compelling events. Things like security, for example, which are top of the mind for customers. And a lot of CIOs and tech leaders that we talk to consistently talk about vulnerability through cyber attacks, hacking, and data breaches. The AWS platform is built from the ground up with security. Security is job zero for us at Amazon. And we know that a platform that's built for the cloud and is designed to be resilient and ensures that it is compliant with the toughest security regulations will offer the peace of the mind to the customer so that you don't have to worry about making sure that your infrastructure is up to date and you're concerned about security threats. The Amazon platform basically takes care of that and helps you focus on the things that really matter. So irrespective of what the business driver is, moving to the cloud is typically the fastest and one of the best, most established ways on realizing those business outcomes and a great way to set your foundation. Now, IDC actually did a pretty thorough research on what are those benefits. And the benefits, as it turns out, are quite significant and sizable. In fact, what IDC came up with was that customers that moved on to AWS saved nearly 31% cost savings over comparable infrastructure. And as I mentioned before, the range is close to 25 to 50%. So even though you typically would expect something approximately close to 25 to 50%. So at a minimum, you'd expect on the lower end to have 25% cost savings, on the higher end, much, much more. On top of that, these three benefits that are listed here around more efficient IT infrastructure and agility, they're all synergistic. That means you don't have to optimize for one benefit over the other. So you can, in fact, achieve the cost savings while driving more and more efficiency in your resources and also then deploying those freed up dollars and resources towards agility. And the structure is quite simple. The more cost and resources you can free up, the more you can redeploy those additional resources and budget over to the projects that matter, leading to more and more agility. And a lot of customers actually start with that. They believe they can move fast and essentially just lift and shift their key workloads over and start gaining those quick benefits that the cloud offers in an accelerated fashion. And then through the right strategy of migration patterns, you can time that perfectly to ensure that you're focusing on the business differentiators. Let's talk a little bit more about the agility component, because what we see happening is that whenever customers do their first migration or they're just starting to their migration journey, they'll usually focus on cost. And we totally get that. Cost is not, it's pretty tricky and budgets are tight. So we always understand that. But as customers start to migrate and start seeing the benefit and the power of the cloud, they start indexing over to agility because they can see how quickly they can spin up new services and new features and new products in a very accelerated fashion. So let's talk a little bit more about agility and what does that mean. We've done an extensive study through our cloud economics team and to really understand how agility plays into the organization's capability and delivery matrix. And what we saw is that organizations that are much more agile will outperform other organizations that are not as agile by a factor of magnitude. They'll be able to do much more releases in a much quicker lead time. The average time to repair, the number of automation, and even the failure rate is considerably lower if the organizations are much more agile. So when you gain that 75% in agility, you're talking about a significant change in your total IT landscape and infrastructure. In fact, one of the reasons we believe that Amazon offers the deepest and the broadest set of services and features is our capability to innovate very, very fast on our customers' behalf and be able to then pass on those innovations in a very simple way to our customers and their end customers. Let's talk to Laurent Rodewald, a customer who's basically leading the charge in driving innovation in healthcare through the power of cloud transformation. Laurent, over to you.
Well, thank you, Faraz. It's a real pleasure to be here and exciting to be working with you again. Topic of my talk right here is really our story at Cambia. We've been on a long journey of innovation, and really exciting to share it with all of you. This is a picture of our founders. We're very proud of them. 1917, our founders were timber workers in the back hills of Tacoma, Washington, and they were the first inventors of an employer-managed benefits system. Really a high-risk profession, and a group of people who cared for each other, who cared for each other's families, and really wanted to make sure that when tough times would come around, they would be there for each other and take care of each other. And really that culture, that commitment to each other, to the people we serve, to the people they love in our communities, has remained and is the North Star that drives us in everything we do. As the healthcare industry has become more complex, I think all of us in one way or another are consumers of healthcare. We recognize that the system certainly is at the root of miracles and extraordinary interventions and support, particularly in the time of a pandemic. But it is also exceedingly complex and in many cases, sadly, overly expensive. And so about 15 years ago, we chose to kind of redefine our North Star and who we served and what we felt was going to be the future of healthcare. And so we created our cause. And our cause ever since has really been that guiding light for every single employee in our company. And it is about serving as a catalyst to the transformation of the industry, to dramatically simplify it, and to create a system that is more individually focused and more economically sustainable, both at the individual, at the family, and the community level. As we look at the challenges of healthcare, and we're right in the middle. We're 9 months in, or 9 to 10 months into the COVID-19 pandemic. The problems we've had prior to the pandemic, remain true, with perhaps the major difference that it has exacerbated the pain, exacerbated the complexity, and exacerbated the challenges of access. But those things that were true before are truly urgent imperatives today. The need for value, the need to understand who we serve, and to ensure that we close gaps in inequity. The need to serve people not as a population or one size fits all, but to truly leverage data, analytics, the understanding of who we serve to give them highly personalized and curated services. And then the ability to provide virtualized care, to make sure that we can ensure that every individual is safe, that they can access the care regardless of their geography, and they can do so in a safe way for themselves and a safe way for the people who care for them. As we looked at what it took to transform our company, we quickly realized that while we had a very strong health plan business, Blue Cross Blue Shield in the Pacific Northwest, particularly in Washington State, Oregon, Utah, and Idaho, it became very clear that as we looked at the retail industry for inspiration, as we looked at some of the fabulous work that companies like Amazon, companies like Netflix, companies like Uber, and others have achieved, that for us to be able to achieve the similar kind of transformation in the healthcare industry, to truly deliver a person-centric, more consumer-centric experience, we had to burn the boats and really transform our company from a monolithic health plan, dependent on large on-premise, technology backbones that were designed around claims and risk management, to really a technology company where the technology team is not just a back office function, but truly an operation that leads, that's a thought leader, that's a privileged partner to the business, and leads with innovation and helps the business to truly transform themselves. And so as we looked at partners, clearly working with AWS and working with our friends there, we found the kind of partner that helped us to not only define the vision, but also to ultimately deliver and execute. And this has been a tremendous asset for us. Our cloud journey really started about 15 years ago, just when the cloud was starting. We always knew at the very beginning of our journey to transform our business model that our technology was inadequate. We were also watching very closely what was happening outside of healthcare. As with many, we're deeply inspired by the just the tremendous innovations and business transformation models that were taking place there, and we started dabbling with point solutions, with applications. We started investing in companies that were born on the cloud, and particularly with AWS, and that allowed us to really build a level of confidence, not only in the technology and the capabilities, but probably more importantly, in the culture, the methods, the business models that were required to be successful. And so just around 2015, 2016, we doubled down and really committed to work closely with AWS to not only build a new technology roadmap that would abstract itself from our monolithic health plan backbone, but also relook at our complete business model and seek to transform it from a health plan member-centric model to a consumer-centric health solutions company model. And AWS has been a great partner throughout that journey. So where we are today, it's about 12, 15 years later after a very, very, what appears to be a long journey. But in the last 5 years, we are poised and very confident for the future. COVID-19 has basically accelerated the imperative for virtualized care and virtualized access to care and payments, probably by at least a decade. And the investments we've made over the last 5 years to completely rebuild our infrastructure and our platform, moving it away from a legacy-based, monolithic, on-premise claims risk management backbone to a full retail class, HIPAA-compliant, multi-tiered, microservice-enabled cloud platform allows us to have a level of flexibility not only to serve our members in the context of our core business, but more importantly to support a far more ambitious network of partners, whether it's on a vertical basis with our providers and the value-based agreements we're pursuing, or on a horizontal basis with our payer partners, our pharmacy benefits management companies, the labs, and of course all of the other third parties, whether they are digital health solutions that are also born on the cloud, or companies that are also seeking to deliver highly innovative models of care through cloud-based platforms. So at this stage, we're thrilled about the future. We're looking forward to many more years. And thanks to the journey we've been on for the last few years with AWS and many of our friends there, I believe that we couldn't be better positioned for the future. So with that, back to you, Faraz.
Thanks, Laurent, for sharing your perspective around how Cambia is innovating in healthcare. And in fact, as I've mentioned before, with Amazon, we actually have a very unique vantage point. We've got millions of customers, and we've done thousands of large-scale migrations and many more at a smaller scale. So we've gained a lot of different learnings from that process. And I'm happy to discuss those clear guidances on how you can help ensure that your migration and modernization projects are much more successful. As it turns out, many of the challenges that these projects will face are actually not technical and really boil down to a few things. Number one is a very strong executive sponsorship. The direction and the goals come from the top. Having a good, strong sponsor and a key driver of your migration modernization project will act as a champion to ensure that all of the key stakeholders basically contribute where necessary. This really helps drive the key elements of cultural change and that new operating model that is very important in a cloud transformation journey. Next is setting bold and outcome focused goals. Make your goals become a forcing function for you to change the organization, the culture, the people, the skills that are required. Cloud migrations and modernizations are supposed to drive business outcomes, so the goals should reflect that. Having clear milestones and aggressive approach will always be a huge adrenaline for your key projects. Third is all about building early momentum and gaining expertise. Learn by doing. We don't need to spend time on paper planning for things that will cover an exhaustive amount of scenario planning. That usually doesn't really work. The best approach is to train your people, make sure that your key assets, which are again your people, have the relevant knowledge, but then learn by doing. Try things at a smaller scale. Don't let analysis paralysis at the start of the project set you back. And that's where we, as AWS, actually help our customers by helping migrate the 10, 20 applications with themselves through our migration acceleration program so that our customers can understand what it takes to successfully migrate, and then it's simply rinse and repeat. So building that early muscle and then scaling is critical. Finally, it's all about taking a strategic approach. It's a really important concept, so I'll spend some time in talking about what it means to take a portfolio diverse approach. The idea is actually quite simple, that there's a spectrum of migration patterns. In fact, Gartner specifically calls it the 6 Rs, and with AWS, you actually get another R, which is a relocate pattern. So we call it the 7 Rs migration pattern with Amazon. And any IT landscape and IT portfolio can be strategically divided into some categories. So we actually work with our customers to discover their IT landscape and understand what are the right migration patterns for their key applications and workloads depending on the type, the need, and the business outcome. So instead of boiling down the ocean, you can really focus on your time and effort and energy on which applications and workloads need to be migrated first using what pattern fits best. And so lift and shift is usually really well suited for application workloads that are almost low to no rate of change, are not as business critical, and usually things like productivity and commodity apps. So those, in fact, with very minimal changes to the code, can simply be rehosted over in a simple lift and shift fashion over to AWS, giving you the benefit of the cost savings and efficiency in a very accelerated fashion with minimal disruption. Next is all about sort of low to very low rate of change business applications. So these are typically applications that are could be business critical, but usually around commodity and have great alternatives in SaaS. And they typically represent about 20% of a portfolio that we've averaged out across the migrations that we've done. So for them, it's really good to have a SaaS approach and ensuring that there's the right alternative over as we move those applications over to the cloud. Then there are a lot of different applications that are simply very low utilization, not business critical, and probably part of the legacy equation. So as you move your workloads over, you'll realize that it's going to be much more simpler to manage. And then roughly about 10% of the applications you could probably do without. And those we highly recommend doing a simple retire and replace. Finally, it's all about the business differentiators. Applications that have a very high rate of change may or may not be business critical now, but certainly are important to the company. And they're all about digital transformation. So things like IoT, AI, ML, mobile apps, and many different things, they sort of fit in the modernized applications. That's where we believe cloud native offers the best alternatives, and modernizing those applications or workloads are going to be really powerful. So using our program, we actually leverage the full spectrum of migration patterns and help customers achieve the right approach for their key workloads. And talking about the guidance that we've gained, we've structured it in a very simple prescriptive approach, and we call it the AWS Migration Acceleration Program. The idea is that by learning through those migrations with our customers and our partners, we've created a very clear, simple, phased approach on methodology, on tooling, having the right ecosystem of partners, making the right combination of managed services, offering the right trainings, and then finally having the right investments so that you can avoid and offset some of those initial migration costs and headaches. And we've structured this in a very simple three-step approach within the Migration Acceleration Program within these 6 pillars. So as we engage with our customers for all the large-scale migrations, we use this 6-dimensional approach to ensure that they're getting the right methodology, the tools, and the partners, and all the key services and training that are required. We understand that customers have unique situations in how they're structured and their IT environments. And so this prescriptive approach literally walks our customers step by step on what it takes to successfully migrate and minimizes the risk of moving to the cloud while maximizing the return on investment and the benefit the cloud offers. Let's talk a little bit more about the structured approach that we use. As I mentioned, it's a very simple three-step approach. The first of us being assess. In this step, we really look at the discovery and the business case of the workload migration and modernization opportunity. We engage with the customers through many different channels. One of them could be CART, which is simply a self-service readiness assessment tool, or we could do a migration readiness assessment when the customers are ready to give them a deep dive into their core applications current landscape across 6 core dimensions. So we'll help understand the people, process, governance, tooling, security frameworks, and all the critical things that are necessary to understand the current state of a migration environment. We'll also be able to help build business cases because we understand that it's important to get the right buy-in from stakeholders, also ensuring that you're setting the right goals and targets. And so it's not just going to be ranges, but we can actually, through our discovery approach, give very specific cost-saving dollars and numbers according to the application category and workload category for all of your IT application portfolio. Once the assessment is done, it's all about building that momentum and gaining experience. And there's about 8 work streams, 8 categories of work streams within this flow. Again, it's a more detailed discovery and planning. This is where you will use our agent-based or agentless discovery and application planning tool and understand what your landscape actually looks like. We'll actually engage on different dimensions and again understand the skills that are required to make that successful transition. We'll look at the workload capabilities. We'll look at the migration plan and ensure that there is a right migration plan for the right approach according to the right spectrum of need. We'll also help build a landing zone, which is really sort of your best approach in getting started very quickly, along with setting up a really quick environment, included with the VPC, a direct connect, whatever is needed to ensure that you're up and running very, very quickly. We'll focus on the operating model and ensuring that the cloud environment and the mechanisms are set up to ensure that the migration modernization is smooth and successful. And obviously, security and compliance, which are top of the mind, are going to be a core element in ensuring that all the requirements could be compliance, could be other or legal, whatever security requirements are needed, we ensure that those are implemented and structured correctly with the right alerts. Now, this is a really important phase, and this is a phase in which it's all about learning by doing. And so we've built a lot of different accelerators across different work streams to ensure that our customers can gain from the experience that we've learned by migrating thousands of different customers, and we can basically benefit our customers across those portfolio work streams. So as you can see on the slide, we're talking about the 4 different experience-based accelerators that we offer to our customers to ensure that they can get on with the migrations really, really quickly, build that early muscle, learn by doing, and we'll actually help move those 10, 20 applications over to AWS so that you can learn by doing and seeing what it takes to successfully migrate. And then the final stage is all about rinse and repeat and scale and modernizing it. This is where you've already built that early muscle, you've done a great, strong migration plan, and now it's all about taking those 10, 20 applications and the success of moving them over and basically repeating it for all of your portfolio. And then it's all about right-sizing them. We consistently help customers optimize their landscape on AWS so that you're always getting the best benefits of the lowest cost and the highest productivity on AWS. And then modernization is key as well. As I mentioned, your key differentiators are always going to benefit from moving to cloud native modernized services. So this phase will help you modernize your core applications. Now we know migration is complicated and hard, and it is unique to different customers. So what we've done is we consistently invest in removing barriers for our customers through in automation and tooling. And a great example is Cloud Endure. Wherever it makes sense, we'll partner or acquire with market leading companies and then offer these tools and resources to our customers for free. And Cloud Endure is a great example of a continuous replication service that is fast, completely non-disruptive, very flexible, connects to almost any type of data sources, and is highly secure. And Cloud Endure migration is one of the fastest ways to move on to AWS in a lift and shift fashion. We acquired Cloud Endure just like we acquired many other market leading companies and offered the service as free to all of our customers as part of the migration journey. And it's not just Cloud Endure, but it's pretty much across the entire ecosystem, across all the phases that we're consistently investing in our own internal tooling and capabilities or vetted tooling and capabilities from our partners and ensuring that you as a customer have the best and the deepest and the broadest set of features and services across the entire portfolio. So be it the assess phase where we can have anything from a self-service tool like Cart or a detailed discovery tool like the Migration Evaluator, or for the mobilize phase where we have the application discovery service or the migration hub, along with the final phase where we have things like service catalog, prescriptive guidance, and more capabilities in the migration hub, and things on the governance side that'll help you achieve your goals and business outcomes while minimizing the risk. And we know partners are key to a successful migration. We have a very rich ecosystem of partners, and we work with many different partners across the entire ecosystem. And we have wedded competency partners that have demonstrated experience and expertise in migrating and helping customers move to the cloud. These are some of the partners that we work with, and we consistently work on enriching this ecosystem to ensure that our customers and their end customers basically continue to get the benefits across their niche use cases. Now, it really boils down to where and how do you start. And we have a very simple two-step approach on making sure that you're starting off on the right foot with the right approach. The first is a very clear, strong business case. It is very important to understand the main business drivers of why moving to the cloud actually makes sense, setting some of those initial estimates, and aligning your transformation plan according to the business outcomes. That way you can ensure that you're getting the right stakeholders to buy in, you have the leadership alignment and conviction, and then you have the clear milestones so that you can track those outcome focused, bold goals. So having that strong business case and alignment is really key. And that's where we partner with companies and ensure that we can give them the right business case down to specific numbers using the capabilities that we have acquired through Migration Evaluator, ensuring that you have the right business case and the right understanding of a strong migration plan. And second is all about assessment and readiness. It is really critical to have a detailed understanding of your current state and ensure that you have a good grasp on your organizational readiness. That's where things like Migration Readiness Assessment, which is a one-day workshop that focuses on a guided, structured questionnaire to ensure that we can help gauge the understanding of your current state, and then making sure that we can build a migration plan according to what fits your specific and unique needs. All of these resources, as I mentioned, are available at no cost to our customers and are great resources to understand and start the migration off with a clear point of view. Now, we have a large set of resources available. Many of them are self-service, available online, and here you'll see a few resources that we've curated. So I highly welcome everyone to come and explore some of these resources. And we have tons of resources online in addition to this. So highly recommend to come and explore some of these additional resources available. As I mentioned, at the end of the day, cloud migrations and modernization is all about making sure that you can make the most of your IT landscape and your technology landscape to align with the business outcomes. It was a pleasure sharing my guidance and structure It was a pleasure sharing our guidance and structure with you today, and we hope you benefited from this session. Thank you.